Hello viewers, this is Wolf here, welcome to Wolf's Haven, and to another unboxing and review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the SH MonsterArts Rathalos figure. This is the second Monster Hunter figure within the SH MonsterArts line. Previously they released Nargacuga, and this is actually the first Rathalos figure that I've ever collected, so I'm looking forward to jumping into this, especially since they knocked it out of the park with that previous Nargacuga figure. But anyways, without any further ado, let's take a look at the box here. So, of course, just like usual, they have a really cool looking image of the figure here posed up. Rathalos here with the flamey effect part in his mouth there. If we take a look, if we scan to the side of the box here, we have a cool little flamey image of Rathalos there, looking pretty cool. The back has that design that I liked from Nargacuga's, where we have the claws on the top. You can see the figure through there a little bit. And we have these other pictures here displaying the poses and different things you can do with Rathalos here. So, let's jump right into this unboxing and get this thing out of here. Now, this is everything that comes included with the package here. So as I pan around, you can see that there are two containers here. The one on the right holding Rathalos right here, a very large figure of Rathalos, looking really good. And then we of course have two additional wing pieces here. So much like with Nargacuga, in order for you to unfurl the wings, completely expand them out, you're going to have extra wing pieces to fill in those gaps. Over in this container, we have more wing pieces. These ones are way larger than those other ones, so this is for completely unfurling the wings. So some decent options there. Right over here is the stand. So this is the stand base, a completely clear stand base here. Pretty cool, and all of the various stand arms and attachment pieces for the base there. We have some more attachment pieces for the base. These are used to support Rathalos' body. And then we have this final piece here, which is the little flame effect part here. So you can mount this into Rathalos' mouth and make it look like he's charging up for a fireball blast. So definitely some decent stuff that comes included with this. And a lot of the attachments and stuff look really good here. So taking a look at the figure here, this is a very visually impressive model in almost all regards. Much like the Nargacuga figure, this is a very faithfully recreated version of Rathalos, and it looks fantastic, especially if we take a look at the various colors around the body, such as these fiery crimson reds and bright oranges, which envelop the entirety of the body, looking very bright and very beautiful here. But on top of that, we also have these very beautiful color gradients that a lot of these oranges and red sections transition into these very deep blacks on the top of the body, leading out into these spikes, looking very nice here. It contrasts a lot of the colors very nicely here, and I think overall just looks very beautiful. The other thing that I like too is if we're talking about the texture, these spikes have a very nice physical texture on them, because if you run your hand across the body of this, especially if you go backwards, these spikes feel very sharp. They also feel very sturdy, but yeah, they're very sharp here, and I think that's very cool because I feel that, like, if Rathalos were real, I feel like this is pretty accurate to how it would probably feel with these spikes being very sharp and very rigid here. So I think that's really cool as well. If we take a look down to the tail, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the body design-wise, because a lot of these black barbs, which surround the tail here, they have a very nice distressed looking texture around them. Especially if we take a look at this barb at the very end, you can see that it has a very nice looking distressed look, where we have all these curves, we have all these grooves, we have divots. There's so many things in here which make it look so incredibly detailed and very realistic here. So I think that's very nice. The other thing that I really like about this as well is that we have all of these various different scales that are very visible on the tail as well, especially on the side of the body. If we go up the side of the tail here and through the rest of the body, there's so many scales that you can see around this, so it makes it look very real here. I think that's really cool. The other thing that I like about this is that if we take a look to Rathalos' face, so Rathalos' face looks very nice, especially if we take a look to the eye, because you can see we have that nice bright blue sclera right there, looking very nice, and then we also have a bit of a bronze iris there, which I think looks pretty cool. The other thing that I like about this is that there is a little bit of a glittery effect on those eyes, which I feel kind of gives it the effect that the eyes are watery. So I think that they really accomplished what they were trying to go for there. I think it does look very good with that glittery effect in the eye. So the other thing that also looks nice here is if you take a look to the mouth is also very nicely detailed here. If you take a look to the tongue, we have various different color effects here. We have these browns, like these bright browns, these dark browns, all around the tongue area. The teeth are also very nicely detailed here, as well as the gum area around the teeth. And then if you look up to the top, the roof of the mouth, you might not be able to see because it's a little dark in there, but the roof of the mouth is also very nicely textured in there as well. It has a bit of a ribbed texture at the top, which I think looks really cool as well. So taking a look to the wings, I also really like the visual of the wings here because we have this nice looking pattern on the top of them with these black lines that kind of drag down. They kind of look a little bit like flame tails stretching all the way down the membrane of the wing, but they look really cool. And then I like how we have this color gradient where we have these nice oranges transitioning down into this pale color right here. At the very end of the wingtips, we have these nice browns, and these nice browns at the very ends here. And on top of that, we also have more of these black, very nice textured spikes lining the edge of the wing here and ending into this very long spike right here. Another small detail that I really like is on a lot of the parts of the body, but especially on these wings, we have a lot of these bumps and little raised sections around the body, which I think looks really cool. It really adds to that real feeling of this as well. So that's very nice. If we take a look to the underbody of Rathalos here, much like the rest of the body, Rathalos, the colors on Rathalos here look very nice. We have a bit of this fleshy color, which is kind of mixed with a little bit of gray, especially from the jaw area going down the neck. Very nicely colored here, especially in the chest area. We have more of that fleshy color, as well as this little black pattern right in the center of the chest there. If we take a look to the legs are nice as well, because we have these grays on the inside, and then on the outside of the legs, we have more of that flamey orange color on the outside, and it's abundant with spikes here just on the outside, so that looks really cool. We're going to carry on with much of that fleshy color all the way down the underside of the tail, ending out into that barb right at the end there, looking very good. Another thing too is that these talons look very good as well. A lot of these claws on the talons are very nicely curved here, and we have a lot of these bumps or scaly sections around the talons, which look really good. We can see a little bit of the bone structure on this as well as a lot of other details around the leg area. Overall, visually, this thing is just brimming with details. It looks very good, very impressive, and the colors are very dazzling as well, so I really like that. So now for some articulation. So we're going to start from the head and then work our way all the way to the back. So starting with the mouth. So the mouth opens up about that far, and then it closes in about that far as well. And then if we take a look to the head and the neck area, so we're going to get some decent rotation action from this because you can actually do a complete 360. Of course, this looks really silly, but you can get that full 360 from the neck and the head area with this. We of course have a free moving part here which meets the main body. So now for looking up, Rathalos' head can look up about that far, so that's pretty decent. And then if we look down, Rathalos can look down about that far. So it's a pretty good articulation here, some really good articulation actually. So now for a side to side look, can see that I think that's about as far as that will go. So Rathalos will look about that far to the side there. So we got a nice angle there. So you got some really good movement from the head and the neck area. So looking to the wings have quite a bit of movement here. Much like the neck, the wings can also do a full 360 right here from this little joint here. You can also kind of move this part individually of this inner piece as well, just like that. So you can get some in and out movement from this. I think that's about as far as you're going to get it in, and then out. I believe that's about as far as you can get it. It might be blocked by this part of the wing, but you got some good movement from this area here. This section can move independently of the wing, but it's only slight movement. So right here, this is about as far out as you'll get it, and then putting it in, that is about as far in as you'll get that wing as well. This part of the wing moves freely, you can completely rotate it around and whatnot, but this is a detachable wing, so you can of course pull this out and then swap it in for a completely different wing, so you got some good movement there because of that. So now for the main body. The main body rotates from this section here, pretty much right where the hind legs are, so you get some decent rotation here. You could probably rotate it completely around, but it's mainly being blocked by the wings, especially if we take a look from the underside here. You can see that you get some good rotation action from the hind leg area or the main body right here. If we take a look to the legs, each leg has some decent movement around here too. You can see, like, they kind of move around here. So you get some decent rotation action with these legs. If we look right here, this, of course, has some back and forward motion, so that is about as far as you're going to get forward, and then that is about as far back as you're going to get. And it's actually kind of cool because you can kind of see this spring forward a little bit when you coil it all the way back. So this portion actually has independent movement of this section here. So you can see that, you can kind of see how this rotates here, or you can see how it kind of goes back and forward like that. So that's about as far up as you're going to get from it. And then down, that's about as far down as you're going to get from that as well. And then each of the individual talons all have their own movement. It's slight movement, but still, they do move independently of each other. I believe some of them do have more, some might have more movement than the others. Like this one here, you can go up about that far with it and then down about that far. So yeah, the various different talons move, and they can close in, they can move closer to each other and out as well, in and out. So you get some decent movement with the talons here, which is very nice as well. So now for the last part, the tail. So the tail is going to move mainly starting from this section and then all the way down. So this is going to be our rotation here. You can get a decent rotation with this as well. I don't think you can get it completely around, but you get some decent rotation with the tail. So for posing it up, if we bend this tail all the way up, so it seems like the tail goes up about that far. And this honestly reminds me a lot of Nargacuga's bend with its tail. So yeah, this is a very good bend here. If we bend the tail down, you're actually going to get more of a drastic angle with Rathalos, with Rathalos' tail here, because look at this angle, how it just completely curves in. It kind of forms a crescent moon shape here, which is really cool. So this has quite a lot of movement going forward, which is nice too, because you're probably going to want to have this posed with that barb sticking forward like that if it's suspended in midair. So that's pretty cool. So then for side-to-side action with the tail can curve to the side about that far. That's a pretty drastic angle. It's like almost an L shape right there. So yeah, you get quite a bit of movement here. And then it doesn't just stop there with the tail. This actually moves independently of these sections of the tail here. So you can see that right here, the movement kind of starts at around this scale right here. So you can kind of move this part up and down individually from each other, and then you can rotate it around as well. And then going down to the barb, the final barb at the end, this also has its own independent movement. So you can see it goes up about that far, and then goes down about that far as well. And then, yeah, there's this section right under here, which is also moving independently of these scales right here as well. So there is quite a lot of articulation on this, much like the SH MonsterArts Nargacuga. The posability on this Rathalos is very impressive. There's definitely going to be a lot of really cool things that you can do with this. So yeah, I'm very happy with the posability here. So taking a look at the stand here and the various attachment parts that come with it, I like this stand for what you can achieve with Rathalos here. It's a very interesting stand, and just taking a look at it here, this stand actually has two different modes. It has a flight mode, which is currently what I have it in, and it also has an on-ground mode here. And the way that you achieve it is that a lot of these parts on the stand kind of act together to prop up Rathalos, because if you take a look at these arms here, these arms all prop up the wings to keep it supported. This little back piece here, this long piece you essentially use to achieve flight mode, and then it has this little piece that sits right in the back here. This actually slips just underneath the scales. These scales sit on top of it, and it even has grooves that allow these top scales to sit right over top of these. So that's very nice. And then right here, there's another piece that rides underneath the tail, which supports the tail just up here to keep it posed out like that. So that's pretty cool. If we actually remove the Rathalos from the stand here, we can take a little bit of a better look at it. So we can see that we have these arms here, which are used to prop up the wings. So these arms are nice because you can completely rotate them around, and then they have this little action here. So wherever the wings are, you're going to be able to prop them up pretty nicely with this. So you definitely do have a bit of freedom with your wing poses with both of these two arms here. And then, yeah, we have these attachment pieces here, which, again, this was used to prop up the tail, and then this was used to support the body. Now, if you actually remove this piece here, and this is also an attachment part, normally this piece just looks like this. Now, if you were to just mount this part into the base, like so, then you're able to achieve the ground mode for Rathalos here, with this part just set in here and this part to support most of Rathalos' body. So I'll demonstrate that right here. And here we will finally have Rathalos on the ground here. So if we actually take a look at this right here and see what the mount looks like, you can see that that clear section right there, it sits right in between Rathalos' legs right there, so it supports his main body right there. And then you're able to have Rathalos standing on the ground here very nicely. You're really going to need that if you want Rathalos standing on the ground, because unlike Nargacuga, Rathalos is not going to be able to stand up by himself, so you're really going to need that. So definitely really nice stand here. I do like the customizability and the different stuff that you can have here. So taking a look at some accessories, first things first, we're going to take a look at the flame effect part here for Rathalos, which when mounted into Rathalos' mouth looks very stunning. It looks very beautiful here, especially since this effect part is translucent, so it is going to capture a little bit of light and then add a little bit of a glowing effect to the flames here, which I think looks very, very beautiful here. But when it comes to mounting the effect part into the mouth, it's a pretty simple procedure. Since this doesn't actually lock into anything really, you can see right on the effect part, there's no nubs or anything that really locks into it. It's mainly just held in by the mouth closing on top of it. So essentially you just want to slide this in and then sit it as far back into the mouth as you can, just like that, and it'll lock in pretty good with the weight of the mouth on top of it, and it won't fall out, and it will look great on top of that as well. So definitely a nice effect part. I actually really like the fact that they included this with Rathalos. It makes me kind of wish that they added in some spikes, some projectile spikes for Nargacuga, and maybe like a transparent stand attachment to kind of show those spikes flying out. That would have actually been pretty cool. But I do like the fact that Rathalos has a flame effect part here. It looks really cool. So here we're going to take a look at the final accessories with this Rathalos here. So it's these two additional wings here, so we can completely unfurl them. So essentially what happens is you have to extend this wing out all the way, and then you got to remove this one. This wing gets replaced by this large piece, and then this wing right here gets replaced by this one right here. So I will demonstrate that in just a moment. So just like that, these wing pieces come out pretty easily. You pull them out, there's not really much of a struggle, and you have free real estate here with the wing completely bare. Of course, this does look really weird, but free real estate for you to mount these other pieces in. And just like this, with those wing parts mounted in now, we have this large piece and this piece in the back here mounted in, everything connected together, and it's a very massive display here with the wingspan, how it's completely opened up and unfurled, and it looks great, especially with how this pattern on the top of the membrane is completely exposed and is a lot more pronounced now. If we take a look to the underside of the wing here, just to see what it looks like, we can see how that pattern on the underside is actually continued as well, which looks very nice. This sits just underneath here, and then just a comparison with the other wing here, you can see that how this is the default wing, how it came with in the box, and then this with the fully maxed out wings. And you can just see how wide and how large those wings are in comparison to this look here. So I definitely do like that option piece here for maxing this out. This is definitely going to be good if you want to pose this in its flight mode, have those wings completely extended out, and I think it's going to look great like that. So definitely some nice additions that they added in with this, with the accessories. So here, I just wanted to do a quick size comparison between a few other models. So of course, I've got my SH MonsterArts Rathalos here, front and center. I've got my SH MonsterArts Nargacuga, and I've got my Capcom Figure Builder Creators Model Tigrex. And just for the heck of it, let's throw in our Velkhana here, just for good measure as well. But anyways, jumping back onto Rathalos, you can just see how absolutely massive this Rathalos figure is in comparison to a lot of these other Monster Hunter figures, especially the Creators Model line, which is also pretty big. But in my Nargacuga review, I did mention how the scale of these SH MonsterArts are definitely comparable to a lot of these Creator Model figures, and that's actually a big plus for these, in my opinion, because I like having these at this scale, because I feel it definitely does represent a lot of the quality and does show off a lot of the details that a lot of these monsters are sporting. So I definitely think that's really cool. But with the Rathalos here completely posed up on its stand, it is going to take up a lot of horizontal space here. Once you get those wider wings mounted in, all of that space, it's going to command a lot of attention in your display area, and it's going to take up a lot of horizontal space here. Like, when you take a look at this compared to Nargacuga, you can just see that Nargacuga is almost dwarfed by how large those wings are from Rathalos there. And Nargacuga, in my review, I compared it to my Tigrex because they're pretty much the same size. So this is actually pretty cool how large this Rathalos model actually is. And it of course looks great alongside all of these other Monster Hunter figures. So yeah, just for you guys, if you wanted to have a size comparison to get a reference of what this is like, this is definitely what you're going to get here. That about does it for everything in regards to the SH MonsterArts Rathalos. Now for my final thoughts. The SH MonsterArts line surely is consistent when it comes to its presentation and overall quality. Seeing the progression from Nargacuga over to Rathalos was nothing short of wonderful, as they were able to retain their flexibility and articulation while combining it all into a larger, more detailed frame. The addition of more effect parts, such as the flame effect, was a welcome addition, and something I hope to see more of when more monsters get released within this line, since it adds more to the personality of the monsters, as well as help represent a monster's ability through poses. The only fault I have with this model is with the top section of the wings being loose and wanting to drop whenever they get the chance. Hopefully that's something we see an improvement on in the future. Overall though, this was a solid model with great visuals, amazing posability, and great accessories that truly add to Rathalos' fiery personality. With this model, Rathalos truly claims the title of King of the Skies, and I now eagerly await the release of Zinogre. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. There will certainly be much more Monster Hunter content coming in the future, and I hope you stay tuned for that. But until then, I hope you all have a good day or good night depending on where you are, and I will see you all later.